Ollie, you and I are both pretty flat after our deflating loss to North on the weekend. We all thought it was one that we should would win, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, and we ended up with the wooden spoon.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. And you could probably tell right from the start of the game that they were just off.
Yeah,
Even though we were 16 points up at quarter time, Kangaroos were just peppering the goals, and they probably should have been 2 or 3 goals in front at quarter time. I think they had about 1-8 on the board, and they missed a lot of easy shots from pretty good plays as well. So you thought they're always going to come back into the game, and we just got a few good goals on the run. But yeah, apart from that, like, we really didn't fire a shot after quarter time. It was a pretty
no,
disappointing way to finish the season. We've been really good at finishing seasons in previous years. We've had some pretty good wins to close out some of the years, but it wasn't to be on the weekend, and we're going to
yeah,
end up with our first wooden spoon since 1998. But I guess the silver lining is we get number one draft pick and our last wooden spoon in 98. We obviously played in the prelim final the next year. So if we can do half as good as that in 2018, we're pretty happy.
and I think it's the most wins by a wooden spoon team as well, which I saw online somewhere today. So that's another positive, and it's probably not really reflective of where we are. Like, I think if you asked a lot of people, they'd say like Brisbane's not the worst team in the comp. Like,
Oh, I don't think anyone thinks that at the moment. I
obviously,
think Gold Coast, Freo, maybe even Carlton were above them at the moment. It's just our start to the season really cost us.
Yeah,
We've been
that's right.
much better in the second half of the season. So, it's disappointing, obviously, to finish with the wooden spoon, but yeah, we've got to take Saturday's game out of it. As disappointing as it was, and as flat as everyone was to get belted by North and finish on the bottom ladder, you've got to think about how far we've come this year.
Yeah, for sure. I after the first quarter, even like we were in front, and I think that had me optimistic. Like, we played so poorly, but to
Yeah,
be in front, I thought, okay, that's our crap quarter out of the way. Now we
yeah,
can play, and we could put a big score on. But we just never turned up. We never showed up, and it all started out of the centre. Like, they absolutely belted us in the clearances in the midfield. Sean Higgins and even Andrew Swallow had pretty good days.
yeah, they killed us.
Todd Goldstein was really on top in the ruck as well. It must be said, it looked like we were carrying a few injuries. Not to make excuses, and obviously it's a young team, tired towards the end of the season. But yeah, it was just a really poor performance and really down on effort as well. That's an intangible that you should, expect any team to bring. So it was just a really disappointing note to finish a good season on, and what I think most fans would consider a good season. If you were to grade the season that's just gone, what would you grade it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, but considering we did finish on the bottom of the ladder, it's probably one of the best seasons of a wooden spooner. And yeah, there was a stat going around. I think it is the most wins for a wooden spooner since we last did get that in 98. I don't think anyone's got, I think we got 5.5 wins that year, and we've got the 5 this year. So it's a really tough one to grade, but you'd have to say probably a B. I think a B is probably fair, just considering how far we've come, and the expectations at the start of the season from outside the club were basically rock bottom. Fagan's done a really good job of improving the list and just getting the best out of the players and just a bit of confidence back in the group, because, yeah, that winning culture just hasn't been there. And it's going to take a bit while longer, but I think that's slowly getting to be ingrained in the club now. And some of those guys that have just endured beltings over the years, I think they're getting a taste for it. And you saw on the last half of the season, our performances, obviously, against the teams we played twice, were much better.
Yeah.
And there were a few games we did just hang in there. There was quite a few games that we probably could have fallen off. Like that Gold Coast game, the first quarter was horrendous. We were able to work our way back and have a good win in the end. And Carlton, in previous years, that might have been a game we absolutely choked as well. But yeah, I think it's a fairly good season to build on overall.
Yeah, I
So
think
you'd probably say about a B.
yeah, relative to where we were coming from, B is probably fair enough. I'd probably go B minus, but you look at our percentage; it improved 13 or 14%. quarters one was much better than previous years. Yeah, I think, and you can actually see the foundations there with the young players and the spine in particular is something you can build around. So I think we've certainly bottomed out, and it's funny now that to think that we've already bottomed out, but now we finish with a spoon is
Yeah.
it's a pretty funny thought, but I think there's probably some merit to it. Um, I don't. I'd suggest that we will apply for a priority pick, but I don't think that would be successful, and we probably don't deserve
No.
it to be fair. But I think the club will, say why not. Could mount a pretty good case based on previous years alone. Um, in terms of the grades, we're going to do a few more grades later on. We're going to have a go at grading each individual player, but before we get to that, most improved, someone we spoke about at the midpoint of the year was Nick Robbo. Would you stick with that prediction or that conclusion now?
Um, yeah, you probably would still.
Yeah, I probably
Maybe
would.
his last 8 weeks weren't as good, but yeah, he's come along such a long way this year, and he's gone from a guy that's probably been on the cusp. He dropped, but now he's just absolutely locked down back, and
Yeah,
considering how far he's come, and I think you still have to give it to him. There are a lot of players that can put their hands up for it, but yeah, I think Robbo can probably take it out.
there are a lot of improvers across the club, but relative to expectations,
Yeah,
I think Robbo gets it. Like Louis Taylor improved a lot, and even Daniel Rich probably arguably had a career best year. But in terms of relative to what we expect of these players, yeah, I think you'd have to say Robbo. And Dan McStay was another one that improved a fair bit this year. So yeah, I'd probably back us in with that as well.
yeah.
Best and fairest at the halfway point, it looked like Dane Zorko would be the runaway winner. Not so sure now. The way Dane Beams finished the season and how dominant some of his games were. What do you think?
I think Zorko still will get it just because of the games Beams missed.
Yeah.
But it is going to be really close. Beams had just a sensational probably last 6 or 8 weeks and was good before that as well. But yeah, just missed those games. It's going to cost him. But yeah, I think Zorko he's probably going to get a few votes for his game on the weekend. There weren't too many guys that stood out, but I think Zorko and Rich had a fantastic game. I thought he was superb.
Terrific.
And probably Witherden as well. They were the three that really can hang their heads high.
I thought
But
just to get back to the game on the weekend, I thought what was really disappointing as well is like for weeks now, we've sung the praises of guys like Bastanak and Walker, and they sort of went back to the old ways of, fumbling and disappearing. But anyway, won't dwell on that for too long. I'd suggest you're right, Zorko will win the BNF just purely because of his consistency, and the BNF tends to reward, consistency throughout the year, and Beams missing games will hurt him. But I think Beams will actually poll higher in the Brownlow.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're dead right there.
Did we do any other awards last time around? I can't remember. Oh, best first year player is an interesting one with how Witherden sort of finished the season. Personally, I'd go still with Berry just because, he was thrown in the thick of the action, had some really big run with rolls, kicked some important goals, but it is close. And obviously through amount of games as well, Berry's got him covered there. But yeah, certainly Witherden's impact in the amount of games he did have was phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go against you and probably go with him. But yeah, Berry's right up there. Mostly missed the last few games, which is disappointing, and he's not going to get the rising star nom.
Just funny.
Sydney players got it this week. Will Haywood, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Witherden, considering how far back he was and the selection he was, that those injuries he had really probably scared a few clubs off, but he's just absolute class, and this is the way he settled in. You don't see too many first-year players have the sort of impact and poise that he's had this year. It's been just so great to watch. And if he's this good now, it's pretty exciting for what he can do in years to come in a better side as well.
Well, just to think that he didn't have a pre-season, you know, watch out next year. He'd have to be $1.01 to win the Rising Star next year because he'll still be eligible to win the award. Just getting back to Berry, I think it's funny that At one point we thought he'd be the most likely to get a Rising Star nomination, and then he finished the season. I think 3 others got one, and he didn't. So,
yeah, a bit disappointing.
yeah, unfortunate for him. But anyway, I think that'll do the awards. We'll get into our attempt at grading all the players. I've already had a go at this, and I've put you on the spot, so apologies for that. But how I did it was relative to expectations, as we sort of talked about with Robbo before.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Alex Witherden. So Witherden, just bringing up his numbers for the year, played 9 games, averaged 23.6 touches, handful of tackles, 5 rebound 50s, and 87 champion data points if you care about your super coach. I went with an A. I don't think you could have asked for too much more from an injury-interrupted preseason. What do you think?
Yeah, I think an A+, considering the expectations. There no preseason coming in. He wasn't really talked about like Mick Luggage and Cedric Cox and Berry. So he sort of flew under the radar a bit, and as soon as he came in, just had that immediate impact, and probably had more of an impact as a first-year player than I've seen, and just the way he changed the side as well. I think we're
for sure.
So much a better side when he was in there. Just his influence off halfback and his kicking, and you've got to give him an A+. I think he couldn't have done any more in the games he played.
And just adding to your point, we've spoken a few times about how we think he freed up Daniel Rich a bit as well across halfback. The next player is Archie Smith, who played the 6 games this year, 10 touches, 10 hit-outs, hit the scoreboard for 3 goals as well. What did you make of Archie Smith's year? I went for a bit of a hybrid B-/C+ grade.
Yeah, I was thinking around a C+. A C.
Yeah.
He was okay. He did enough when he was in the side to keep his spot. But, we'd like to see a bit more out of him. But he's a big guy. He'll take a bit longer to develop.
And it's hard when Stephen Martin sort of likes to ruck solo as well. I think next year is probably the big year for Archie. And as fans, we probably expect them to be on level peggings, and maybe even Steph misses out purely to let Arch have a go, or because he's earned it as well. But, yeah, I'd expect next year's the make or break year for Archie. Next one's Ben Keags. 10 games, which was down from his 16 last year. 15 disposals, 4 tackles, and kicked 6 goals as well.
He showed a bit, but he was probably one of the rare ones that didn't actually improve significantly.
Yeah, I thought of the second-year players, I thought he'd probably make the big jump.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
So I just went with a C, which when I think about it now, it's probably a bit harsh. But
no, I'm going to C as well.
Yeah, go C. I think I still got a lot of faith that he'll become a good player.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I just thought he'd probably have a bit more impact than he has done this year. The next one is Cedric Cox, another first-year player for us.
Cedric did some really good things. I think he had really high expectations coming in. He played some pretty good preseason games and obviously has that speed off half back. So he played some really good games, showed enough. I think as a first-year player, so we'll probably give him B-.
Yeah, I went a B- as well. So just some of Cedric's numbers are 11 touches a game, 2.5 tackles a game, and the 45 champion data points. But I think it was just the creativity and flair that he sort of brought to the game that was exciting. You can see that the signs are there that he will be a pretty good player in a few years. To be honest, I don't think we'd even see him this year. So I think for him to get a few senior games was a good win. Clay Beams is next. We got 9 games out of Clay Beams, which actually surprised me when I looked that up. 14 disposals, couple of goals, 4 goals. 56 champion data points per game. I went with a D.
Oh yeah, that's pretty harsh. But
it is harsh,
I think pretty fair. I'll give him a C-. I think he did some okay things. He was probably he's had a really tough road, Clay Beams, obviously, with
Yeah,
so
for
many
sure.
injuries, knee recos. But, yeah, he's probably going to be one of those guys that might get the cut at the end of the year, might be delisted. But he
Yeah.
played enough games and he can be dangerous. His disposal definitely lets him down at times. Got a good enough kick, but just a bit all over the place. But
Yeah, he played some good footy in the last few games of the season, but I think just for a guy that's been on your senior list for 8 years, I think you definitely need more out of him.
Yeah.
Dan McStay, 19 games this year, 11 disposals, playing a key defence for most of the year. One of the big improvers of the year, I thought. I gave Dan McStay a B+.
Yeah, I think B+ is definitely fair. He really improved as the season went on. And I was probably a bit critical of him early, just in defence. He was going for those big marks and probably not doing the really solid defensive things that you come to expect from a defender. But he has come along such a long way. And I think, he's one of the guys that's really improved. And obviously he's 4th year.
Yeah.
So, B+ is a good one.
I think something he still needs to look at working on is his body positioning in defence as well. Just doesn't use the body and often gets outpointed back there or loses his man entirely. But it is worth noting that he spent most of the preseason rehabbing, and then when he was training, it was as a forward. So you get him training defensively, sky's the limit for Dan, and I think we all recognise that as well. Daniel Rich, I gave him an A-. I thought he was terrific this year and sort of a career-redeeming year. Played 22 games, averaged 21 touches, playing a half-back flank. Played some superb footy, particularly in the back end of the season when we sort of got our run on after the bye. But, even when he wasn't dominating games, he was certainly consistent and a real general back there for us.
Yeah, he's really got back to that level that we know he can get to. And it's not just... He's really lifted his... the defensive side of his game.
Yeah.
That was a really critical, a point we're critical of him, that he just wasn't doing enough defensively and looked lazy out there. But he was the only one on the weekend that was running and chasing and giving his all. Like, everyone else was flat-footed and he was just running into the ground. So
that's some great spoils as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably his best season since his first, when he won the Rising Star. So hopefully that's going to be the case for the rest of his career, and he can show us that more often. But I think an or an A-. A- is pretty good.
Just some other numbers on Rich. 6th in total rebounds and 9th in total metres gained for the season. So good effort there from Daniel Rich. Darcy Gardner is next. I'll just bring up his stats, but while you do that, I went with a B. What did you make of Darcy's year?
I'll give him a B+. I was really happy with him, especially towards the end of the season. And he was probably known just as a defensive stopper and didn't do a lot of creative stuff. But I think he's really improved the attacking side of his game. I saw him pop forward and kicked a couple of goals, I think, at times. So, I was really happy with how Darcy came along. I thought at the start of the season he might be one of the guys that's nudged out of the back six maybe, but he's come along really well.
So 19 games this season for Darcy, but as you said, added a bit of offensive game to his performance, and I thought it was just as solid as a rock in defence. And I see him as like the Ben Stratton sort of Hawthorn defender, like not your key back, but someone you can just really rely on week in, week out. So you went B+, didn't you? B+ for him.
Yeah.
Next one's Dane Beams, the captain. Straight up, I gave him an A. Probably would have been higher had it not been for some missed games, and then had to work his way back from, he was playing, but he wasn't at full fitness, so he sort of was struggling for his touch and wasn't getting high positions that we expect of him. That was the only reason he probably didn't get an A+. But his numbers for the year, again, were fantastic. 27 touches, a goal a game to finish with 20, 4.5 tackles a game, and 5 clearances per game as well.
Yeah, dead right. It would be an A+ if he played all year, because the games he did play, he had very rare quiet games. And the influence he did have when he was on was just spectacular. And is definitely in probably the top 5 midfielders in the comp when he's on that sort of level with his shot against the Gold Coast and a number of other games as well. So, yeah, it's a credit to him that he's played out the season with that injury because, yeah, he's had the injury troubles ever since he came to the Lions. So it was really good to see him just battle it out. He's gone into surgery this week. So that just shows how much pain he was playing in the last few games.
I think Rocky will be in the same boat there.
Yep, Rocky's going in for shoulder surgery as well.
The next one is the other Dane of the Zorko variety. Straight up A+. I don't think he could...
A+.
Yeah, couldn't have done much more this year. He was rewarded with All-Australian selection in the initial 40-man squad.
Had to be there.
Should get into the final 22.
Oh.
But you never know with the Victoria-centric media.
Yeah.
So his numbers finished with 25 touches a game, 34 goals for the season, 7 tackles a game, which is just about incredible, and 5.5 clearances per game as well. An incredible season.
That is good as you get. That is just sensational. 34 goals when he's been playing mostly through the midfield is just insane numbers. And if he doesn't get All-Australian, there will be a riot because he deserves it more than anyone. So, yeah, sensational season, A+ for sure.
Next one's our favourite full forward, Eric Hipwood. So 8.5 disposal games. He finished with 30 goals as a second-year player, which to me is just remarkable. I gave him... What did I give him? An A/A-. I don't think... Out of a second-year player playing full forward in the worst team in the competition, I don't think you could ask for much more.
No, you can't. 30 goals. Yeah, in the bottom side, we would like to see him kick a few more goals just because he does show us that potential and he's just got so much talent. You think he can do more, but we've just got such high expectations of him and it will come. But, yeah, 30 goals playing the bottom side and he's not getting the best delivery. And the things he did that really showed us was just highlight reels all the time. So, yeah, I'll probably give him an A-.
I think what's important to note with Eric as well is like he didn't really kick a bag this year, so it shows his consistency, and he has missed the 2 games as well. So yeah, just a consistent performer. You could only really knock him for that one game against the Bulldogs where he's coming back after having been rested. But yeah, really, really positive signs from Eric. From one end of the ground to the other, we go to Harris Andrews. 22 games for him this year as the general in defence. Actually finished 3rd in the league in 1%ers, which shouldn't be surprising considering the amount of spoils he was doing. I gave him an A.
I would almost give him an A+.
Yeah.
He's very close to an A+. I would just give him an A+, because the amount of ball that was coming down there at times, and he's the leader of the defence now at 2021. It's just unheard of for someone that young to be playing that well. If he was in a Victorian side, he would be being talked about as being the next Alex Rance or next Stephen Silvani. He's just that good. So
it's unfortunate that Ben Brown got a few on him, but that was more due to the midfield delivery. Like, there's nothing...
There's absolutely nothing. 65 inside 50s North out on the weekend, and it was just coming in there so easy. No pressure at all from the midfield. It was just easy ball. So there was nothing he could do. Ben Brown's quality, and we learned from that.
Hugh McGluggage played 18 games this year for 15 touches a game. It's a pretty good first year from a slight sort of player. I didn't expect a huge amount of output out of him just based on his body and the style he plays. I went with B+.
Yeah, I'll go with B. He's our highest draft pick, so being a bit harsh on the kid, but probably expected a bit more from him. And yeah, he was just a consistent contributor throughout the year. He did some really good things, but maybe I would have liked to have seen a bit more. But yeah, I can't fault his efforts. He played most of the year, and yeah, pretty happy with him.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. But you can see the signs with him, like the type of player he's going to turn into and the class he has. Next one is Jacob Allison. I didn't expect to see him at all this year, so for him to get a game, I thought was a win, and I just went B plus.
Yeah, I'll go B plus as well. I was so pleasantly surprised by the way he came in and slotted in. So yeah, he did enough to really show us that he can be a player for us into the future.
Yeah, averaged 18 disposals across his 5 games as well. So might actually challenge Witherden for the Rising Star next year. But yeah, really impressive signs from someone that we picked up with pick 55 in the draft last year. And you can see it with his frame as well. Like he could develop into a pretty big-bodied sort of midfielder type that would be exciting for us to watch. Jake Barrett is next. He's probably the surprise packet coming off the rookie list and playing
Massive surprise packet.
17 games. He actually finished 18th in total tackles inside 50, which I suppose in terms of your pressure indicators is what you're looking for in your players. I'm pretty impressed with him. I think there's some upside there. I gave him B plus for his season.
Yeah, I'll give him B plus as well. Didn't really expect anything from him. He was sort of a bonus coming over from GWS, and considering the amount of games he played, and never lacked in effort.
No.
He's probably going to be always a limited player. Doesn't have the best skills or anything like that, but I was pleasantly surprised about the way he performed.
Jared Jansen only played the 1 game. Like Clay Beams, someone that's been around in the senior list for I think 4 or 5 years now. You probably expect more, so I gave him a D.
Yeah, he only got the 1 game, so it's a bit hard to judge. But yeah, considering it's probably in his 4th or 5th year in the AFL system now, he's probably on the cusp, I would say. And if Fagan wasn't really going to pick him, only got picked for that 1 game over in the West. It's not looking good for him, but
it's hard to see him sticking around.
I think he was okay in that game he came in for. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll give him a C minus.
Yeah. Jared Berry is next. My nomination for best first year player. Played 16 games, averaged 14 touches, and often tagged the opposition's best midfielder. I went with A minus for Jared.
Yeah, I'd have to go probably an A for his efforts. Yeah, he was really good, solid body, and we spoke to him during the season. Really good guy, and I think his development's going to come along so far in the next few years, and he's definitely going to be part of our next finals tilt.
He's sort of that prototype modern day midfielder that you really get excited about, with that big body, but also the speed and the ability to sort of shake around a few players. I think he's a really exciting player for us. The next one is one of your favourites, Josh Shackey. Be interesting what we grade him.
Yes.
Probably. I mean, we do need to be patient with our key position players, but in his second year, played 10 games, kicked 9 goals, averaged 4 marks a game. What did you make of Josh's second year?
Yeah, it was a step backwards, and obviously the contract speculation, that definitely impacted on his footy early in the year, and we thought he might, the weight off his shoulders, he might just come in and dominate now and take the footy world by hold, but he didn't do that. He was out of the side towards the end of the year. Form just wasn't good enough. But yeah, we've got to be patient with him. A lot of supporters the way he was treated with some of the supporters on social media was an absolute disgrace during the season. I think it started off obviously with everyone thinking he was leaving, buying into all the media reports, and then after he had signed, then his form wasn't great, and we're getting stuck into him again. It wasn't great, but yeah, we'd like to see a bit more of him, just a bit more attack on the footy. He's a very gentle sort of guy, but yeah, hopefully that aggression can sort of come out on the footy field soon. He's a beautiful kick for goal, and he's going to be a really good player for us, but the second year blues hit him a bit.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a write-off as a whole this year, just with everything was going on, the contract, his family stuff. He just couldn't get to his best on the footy field. So in terms of a grade, what would you go?
Yeah, C minus.
I went C minus. Josh Walker had a bit of a career revitalisation this year. Played 11 games, mostly forward, some in defence as well, but particularly after the bye and after he came back into the side, he was terrific.
Yeah, he was another surprise as well. I thought he might be one of the guys that just gets left out in the side. He's playing NEFL all year and might get delisted at the end of the season. But yeah, the way he was able to play defence and pop forward at times,
Also
really important. And I think, it's just that people forget. I think we've spoken about it before, that he's still young enough. He's not like in his late 20s or anything. He's only 23 or 24, so he's got a lot of footy left. And I'll give him a B-.
Yeah, I went B-/B. Lewis Taylor, really good year. Back to his offensive best, 22 games, 19 touches a game, 17 goals, a goal assist a game as well. He was just electrifying, and I think he pretty much drove all of our offensive movements.
Yeah, he did. Super season from him. I think he's one of the guys that's really benefited from Fagan coming in. I think the impact Fagan's had on his footy has just been sensational. So, I'd give him a B+, just the way he's come along. And people said when he won the Rising Star, and then obviously Bontempelli's gone on to be a premiership star for the Bulldogs, that was the wrong choice. But Louis Taylor's still going to be a super player. He's going to keep improving, and I'll give him a B+.
I love how angry those Bulldogs supporters get about the Rising Star as well.
Just really get over it, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a premiership.
Yeah. Liam Dawson only played the one game and got absolutely stitched up against the Bulldogs that Eddie had. Like Ben Keags, someone that's in his third year, probably expect a bit more from. Probably thought he'd be a permanent fixture either across half back or across half forward by now. I think the signs are there that he could still be a really good player for us, but I think it's probably the onus is on him now if he wants it badly enough.
Yeah.
I went D just because...
Yeah, we just didn't see enough of him. It's the NEFL all year.
Marco Paparone, someone that struggled with injury a lot but got back to play 6 games and averaged 16 and a bit touches in those games. There's another one that's been frustrating. We let down by injury, and is someone that's been on the list for a long time, but just don't get to see them at senior level enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd forgotten about Marco a bit, just because he's only played the 6 games, and he has been on the list for a long time, like you said, and didn't do a hell of a lot when he did come in.
Yeah, I must admit, I was surprised to see that he played 6 games this year.
Yeah, I was very surprised to hear that.
So hopefully he's still contracted for next year. So hopefully, he gets back fit and firing and can get him back in the seniors. The next one's Matt Hamilman. I didn't think we'd see much of him this year. Obviously played a few games last year, but to me still looks likely enough as a project type forward.
Yeah.
Played the 3 games this year and finished with just 2 goals, but I think he does have a long-term future.
I think he does as well. There's been a bit of talk around that he might be one of the ones to go, but no, I think he deserves at least another year or 2. He's going to take a while to develop, but I saw enough in the games he did play to suggest that it'd be worth keeping around.
I'd give him a C for this year, and keep him around. He's on the rookie list, so
I'll go C.
Michael Close is next, and he's someone that's actually out of contract at the moment, so who knows where his future lies, but we got 10 games out of him this year for 8 goals. What did you make of Close this year?
Yeah, Close is a tough one. I really like him as a player, but he just hasn't had that consistency there. I think he was probably treated a bit unfairly at selection at times, thrown in and out of the side. It was hard to get a good run at it.
I agree with that.
I think he has to stick around. I think he has a future. He's a tall player and tall forward that can kick a goal. Kicked a beautiful goal from the pocket in the first quarter on the weekend. That was really great to see, but didn't do much after that.
No.
But yeah, he's a really tough one to grade actually. But I might go C plus.
Yeah, I went C minus, just expecting more out of him. As you think back, he's from the same draft class as someone like Sam Mays, and Sam Mays is a permanent fixture in the 22 and closest fringe. He was dealt with harshly at times at selection and dropped when he probably didn't deserve to be dropped, and then dominating the NEAFL for so long. But yeah, anyway, we'll see if he's still around next year. The next one's Mitch Robinson, but it's hard to grade him when he was rubbed out with injury for the whole year. So we'll skip over to Nick Robbo, our most improved. 21 games out of him. The only one he missed was with suspension. 16 disposals as that sort of dour defender. I gave Nick Robbo B plus A minus.
Yeah. We'll go back to the expectations. I'll go an A.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Superb. And even the game he did get suspended for, he was roughing up Dusty, so he gets points for that as well. And he took Buddy to task as well, which is probably one of the highlights of the year, really.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably is the highlight of the year. It's the first thing I think of when I think about this year. But next one's Reece Matheson. He played some pretty good games in the midfield. He's probably, out of the second-year players going back to that point, I thought Ben Keags would probably have more of an impact than him, but Reece probably took the points there. Played 13 games, averaged 18 touches in those games. Yeah, it was pretty solid in the midfield, and had probably his career best game in the big loss to GWS when Dane Beams went down injured. Really stepped up in that game. So I gave Matho a B.
Yeah, I'll go B minus. I'd like to probably see a bit more of him. I know what sort of talent he is, and I know what he can get to. I think he can be an absolute superstar for us. And I don't know, I really liked what he did last season. I think he probably could have got to an even higher level this year. I'd probably like to see him put on a bit more size in the gym and really become that big midfielder.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty happy with him. I'll go B minus.
Roe Buick played 8 games for us this year. I think, for me, it was a really disappointing year for Roe because in the pre-season, he looked like setting the world on fire this year.
Yeah.
He sort of set his year up as a wingman, looked really good in the JLT series, and then as soon as the season started, back to the old Roe that we hate, the inconsistent Roe. He had his moments, kicked the 3 goals against Essendon, which was a feature, but yeah.
And he fell over in the square as well, trying to kick one of in the last quarter.
So I went with a D plus for Rowe. I think you just need more out of the players that have been around for a few years now.
Yeah, he shows us something every now and again, but just not for long enough. He's been around for so long now. I think he's nearly probably 27, and we would have liked to see a lot more of him. But unfortunately, just can't put it together for long enough. So, probably D.
Basnak's up next. 16 games, 18 disposals a game, and proved to be a dead-eyed dick in front of goal. 19 goals for the season as well. Like Walker came back into the side when he got his chance and just turned a complete leaf. His form was amazing in the back end of the year.
Yeah, people were writing him off at the start of the season. He had a pretty poor month, got dropped, and since he came back in, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And, like you said, dead-eyed dick in front of goal. When he was having a shot inside 50, you'd back him in every time.
Yeah.
He never looked like missing. So, a big improver. So I think I might give him B.
Yeah, I went B plus B sort of range. Harwood is up next. Didn't play a lot of footy with injuries and form. It's disappointing. So he's one of the ones that I like as that sort of reliable defender, but played 9 games, 12 touches. Looked to sort of almost reinvent himself as a small forward later on, but then got shut down with injury again. As someone that's out of contract this year, might struggle to get back in a Lions jersey. Yeah,
I really like him as well. He has a bit of speed, can kick it. Dominated some games in the NEAFL, and we thought, he's on the right track. But just injury and form, just couldn't quite get there at times. So he's another one that's been around for 4, 5, 6 years. It's been a while, so yeah, probably C minus.
Yeah, I went with the D for Harwood. Ryan Lester's next. Mr. Reliable, you just sort of throw him around in any role and you get the job done. I really liked what Ryan brought to the table this year, playing every game, 16 touches, just bobbed up in the right places as well. I think it was one of the fun things to watch about this year was seeing where Ryan Lester popped up in Fagan's scheme. I went with A minus / B plus.
Yeah, I'll go with B for Ron Lester. Yeah, he was pretty good this season, and I know a few fans have written him off at times, but yeah, he had a great season. It's probably career best season. So I think a B.
Sam Mays is next, and someone we didn't really speak about when it comes to most improved. I think we've just come to expect what we get from Sam. He's so reliable as that halfback flank, averaging 21 disposals per game. I went with an A minus for Sam.
Yeah, I'm not even going A.
Yeah.
He's got back. His first season was absolutely incredible in 2013. And he was a high draft pick, so I probably expected that from him. Stagnated, but he's come back around the other end and, yeah, nailed down that back half role. And I thought when Lepper was playing him down back, he just looks disinterested. And I thought, why are they playing him down back? He was a forward, dominated in the first year. And he's really made it his home now. So, yeah, going A.
It's one of those ones that you sort of set and forget now. You just sort of...
Yeah.
Which is a credit to him and how he goes about things as well, I suppose. Next one is Sam Skinner, which we didn't mention. He sort of kicked off a terrible week for us with the news about his ACL. So
tragic.
Third ACL, but fortunately it's not the same one that's been... he's had surgery on previously, which is good news, but still not good for Sam and the club. He'll be out for a long time, but in terms of his grade, I didn't expect him to get a senior game this year, just based on where he was coming from and his recovery. So in terms of that, I think you need to give him a C plus at least. And even in that game, he showed a few signs, kicked 2 goals, and played with plenty of aggression, which is something that you love to see as a fan.
Yeah, I'll give him I think a C plus is fair. That first game, only game he played was, I think, really good. Unlucky to be dropped the next week, and then, tragically third ACL in an equal game. So that's just terrible. Like the kid's only 20, and he's going to go through his third ACL. So it's no good at all. But yeah, there's so much to like from him, and hopefully he can get his body right because he's going to be a super player for us.
Just sidetracking on Sam's knee for a minute, but I don't know about you, but when that news came in, it sort of deflated all the good vibes that we had going about this season.
Yeah,
and how much fun this season had been, and how how much we're enjoying the development, and then just sort of completely flat after hearing that, which is such a shame.
Yeah, maybe it did have an impact on the way the guys came out on the weekend.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Because he's a really popular guy around the club, and we haven't had the really bad stuff that's gone on previous years. Like under Leopard, always seen 1 week go from one disaster to the other, injury or off-field drama or something. But yeah, it just wasn't the case this year. And then the news comes out that he's done his third. It's going to hit everyone pretty hard.
I think actually completely sidetracked now, but in terms of the unsung heroes this year, the medical staff been terrific. Our injury list has been sensational, besides, the major injuries like the broken leg to Tom Bell and Alan Christensen's bizarre sort of shoulder break, which are like freak things that can't be helped. Like
completely, yeah.
There haven't been many hamstring or calves or those sorts of things.
No.
Muscular injuries.
Yep.
So credit to them. Getting well back on track. Yep, getting well back on track now. Steph Martin will be an interesting one for us to grade. Averaged 17 touches this year, 35 hitouts, 3rd in total hitouts in the entire competition, and actually 10th in total clearances, which is surprising.
Yeah, he's a really tough one to grade. wasn't his best year, which that it's not a knock on him or anything. But
No.
he has played better in the past. But yeah, I think he's still doing enough. But he's getting to that age now where probably the end is near for him, and we probably need to start bringing another ruckman through. And we're talking about Archie before, so yeah, he's going to be 31 in November.
Yep.
So he's probably only got a few years left. But yeah, I think we're pretty happy with him. I'll go a B.
He's been super consistent over the last few years, though. And to think, you know, he came across from Melbourne as some sort of forward that no one knew much about and got thrown in the ruck when I think Louis went down at one point, and Trent West might have gone down as well.
Yep.
It's been a super pickup for us. Yeah, I went B plus B. Tom Bell's next is someone that probably was disappointing this year. Before he broke his leg, his form was pretty average, only getting 14 touches a game and 4 goals in the 6 games that he did play. And he actually ranked 15th in the competition in clangers per game, which isn't a statistic you want to lead in. It just comes back to the theme, and I think it's starting to become apparent when you do these grades, is that the players that have been around in senior footy for a long time are the guys that are sort of letting us down.
Yeah.
So I gave Bell a D.
Yeah, D as well, but I think that just comes back to the recruiting at the time.
Yeah.
There are always the knocks on Tom Bell about his kicking, disposal, and I was happy with him probably last year.
Yeah, I thought he was all right.
I think he did okay, but yeah, he's one of those guys that I don't think he's ever going to be a world beater.
No.
But yeah, I think he plays a role, but C minus.
Fair enough. Tom Cutler, another one that's been on the list since 2014. Only played 12 games in the year, averaging 19 disposals. Played most of the year as that sort of Isaac Smith winger, which we have spoken about, and played some pretty good games. The win over Essendon, he was instrumental in with 28 disposals and a goal. But probably expecting him to be a regular contributor at this point of his career. He's someone that's approaching 50 games and be 23 next year, so you'd hope for him to be a solidified member of the 22, but he's sort of still on the cusp, that 23rd to 22nd sort of player. I went D plus C minus.
Yeah, I'll go D plus as well. He's obviously got a really big kick, but I think there's other parts of his game he really needs to work on, and that's probably why he's sent back to the knee full. Yeah, would probably like to see a bit more out of him in coming years.
The last on the list, Tommy Rockcliffe. Obviously hampered by the shoulder injury in the back half of the year, but the first half of the year was sensational, and someone we talked about leading the league in clearances for a long way before he got shut down with injury. Fought through it in the end to play as a forward and kick 16 goals, but still actually averaged 24 disposals across the season. Pretty solid year from Tom, and brave of him to play the season out when he was obviously in a lot of pain.
Oh, I think he had a great year, and he was on track for, I think, the record amount of clearances at one stage, and then got the injury, and he struggled with it ever since. So, yeah, well done him for playing, and obviously gone into surgery this week. So that just shows how much he was battling with it. And, yeah, at times when he was forward, looked super dangerous.
Yeah.
Gold Coast game, and even early in that first quarter against North on the weekend looked really dangerous as well. And that's, if we can get another midfielder or two into the club and he can switch between midfield and forward, that's a really positive sign for us. But just hopefully he stays, and that's still up in the air. But yeah, I'd really love him to stay, and I think for his year and what he had to deal with and what he's coming off last season, I think probably going A. Yeah,
fair enough. I went B plus for Tommy, and yeah, like you said, hopefully he does stay. I think most of the fans do want him to hang around, so you know what a valuable player he is, and especially when fit as well. Like, I hope people don't look at his last few weeks and think, you know, is this Rocky? Because it's clearly not. You know, you have to think back to the start of the year when he was absolutely dominating dominating games to remember the real Rocky. But that wraps up the grades. Well done, mate. That was a bit of a marathon effort, but we got there in the
It
end.
was a marathon. We got there.
Thanks for that. We'll wrap it up. All the best, mate. We'll talk again soon.
Yep. Thanks, Keags. Talk soon.